21 years ago, a website launched that nobody took seriously.
For so long, it was perceived to just be, low quality, user-generated content.
And I'll be honest, I was one of those people.
I said I didn't move across the world to make, to your point, a bunch of YouTube videos.
But then I got laid off and started my own YouTube channel with 0 subscribers.
It was 3 times per week on YouTube, no matter what.
Once people make that decision, they're committed.
But what turned a bedroom vlogging site into the most powerful media platform on the planet?
Everything that is going on, in the world is on YouTube.
I sit down with Alison Lomax. She's managing director of YouTube in the UK. We talk about where the platform is going, how it's changing the way the world watches, and why the biggest opportunity in the creator economy is just getting started. My name's Uptin, and this is What's Uptin.
All right, Alison, thank you for sitting down with me today here in Los Angeles.
Thank you for having me.
What makes a great leader in 2026?
So I think what makes a great leader in 2026 is the same as, it's been the same the last decade. And ultimately, it's about having a clear vision. It's about being, getting the best out of your teams. It's about inspiring your teams. And it's about just ensuring that you keep up with everything that's changing around you. And I think pace is probably more important than ever before because things are changing quickly. And so it's ensuring that you are moving with that and you're moving your teams with it, and but at the same time that you're still building the same culture and inspiring people.
It's incredible that YouTube's relevance has been able to grow. I mean, it's 22. Is it 22 years since it was started?
21. So it's our 20th birthday. We celebrated it all year. I've never eaten so much cake in my life.
Red? Was there a lot of red frosting?
A lot of red. I mean, the icing was pretty.
No, but it's incredible that you have a tech essentially platform, content platform that's been able to not only sustain but literally grow in relevance. I mean, now, I've been seeing some of the stats where TV, I think, was it 70% of YouTube consumption is now on TV in some markets?
It's not quite that high, yeah.
Okay.
So it varies by market, but in the UK, it's now over 40%. So it's the highest sort of format surface in terms of how people actually watch the content.
I think some YouTubers, including myself, have like 60 or 70% of our viewers are on television, which is absolutely, crazy to think about if you just thought about a few years ago.
Yeah,
what do you think it is about YouTube that has been able to not only stay relevant, but become more relevant over 2 decades, which is an eternity when you think about tech and platforms?
And I think what's incredible about it is, for so long, it was perceived to just be, low quality, user-generated content, where it's individuals vlogging in their bedrooms. Yeah. And we've just seen this seismic shift, haven't we, in terms of the content that is available on YouTube. I mean, it's everything. It's everything from, high quality documentary content to obviously to artists, amazing music, to live shows, to sport. And I think what makes YouTube bigger and bigger every year is just that cultural relevance. The fact that everything that is going on, in the world is on YouTube.
So I was a CNBC journalist. I was based in New York, and I moved to Singapore for more opportunities to be on camera as a reporter. And my boss, this was 2016, he said, I want you to help start our YouTube channel. And I told him, I said, I didn't move across the world to make, to your point, a bunch of YouTube videos.
And that was
This is 2016, yeah.
Wow.
And his jaw dropped. And he was like, I wouldn't discount the future growth potential of YouTube. And he was a seasoned executive, he wasn't someone who was, like always on with the next trend. But I said, okay, and I gave it a chance, and I started doing mix of live television as well as YouTube long form, where I covered tech in China and all this sorts of things. And I fell in love with YouTube because when I would text my friends and family back in the US and say, hey, watch me on TV, it'd be 2 a.m. their time and it's one and done. But then you put something on YouTube and someone could watch it anytime, anywhere, for eternity, essentially. And that changed my perspective quite a bit on YouTube. And so I was essentially a vlogger for YouTube. And one thing I realized was anytime I would film in selfie mode versus like bringing my videographer, those videos would actually perform better.
So interesting. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, what we're seeing very interestingly is this slow coming together of more established news outlets, understanding the value of kind of news creators and the differences that actually both parties can bring. And actually there's one in France, which is just this collaboration that's just launched. So TF1, which is like the big French broadcaster, which is 50 years old, this incredible archive, amazing sort of editorial background, with a creator called Gaspard G, who is 28. He's got a massive audience. He's actually had his YouTube channel since he was 10. But they're doing a collab on the French presidential candidates. And so obviously what TF1 brings is this brilliant archive, and he brings the audience. And so
the ability to relate in a digital way.
Exactly. And so each episode is going out on both channels. And so you're then bringing, again, very different audiences are watching the same content. And for me, I think we'll see more and more of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a real coming together of the different skills that each party brings.
That's something I realized was that people are drawn to people. And at the time when we were scaling the CNBC YouTube channel and Facebook channel and Instagram page, I saw people like Drew Binsky that were growing, way faster. And this was just a guy in a backpack and a camera than our big team with this, very famous, well-known brand. And I realized, you know what? You join a lot of platforms on the internet to connect with a person, not necessarily a big brand.
Yeah, it's much more personality-based. Exactly.
Yeah. So is it, almost every day I'm asked, how can I grow on YouTube, Uptin? You've been doing it for these years. I have 260K subs. And people always want advice. Like, can I still do it? And every person I talk to says YouTube is the hardest. And I agree with that. I do think YouTube is the hardest, but it's also the most rewarding, right?
Yes, exactly.
I heard a stat, for every one YouTube sub you have, it's equal in value to 17 TikTok followers you may have.
I've never heard that stat
in
before.
terms of like a business, as a business creatorpreneur. So what do you say in 2026? Obviously, the supply demand has shifted since 2005, 2006. What do you say? What's standing out on YouTube?
In terms of content?
Growth, and for new creators.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things that really stands out is I've been in this role for 3.5 years. I was at Google beforehand, but as managing director of YouTube 3.5 years. No one was talking about podcasts.
Interesting.
Podcasts were just not discussed. And you fast forward, and now podcasts are such an important part of YouTube. And obviously the brilliance of YouTube is it's multi-format. So you've got shorts, you've got live, you've got podcasts, and you've obviously got longer form content as well. But this new format is brilliant because it's so agile, it's so flexible. You can use podcasts for documentaries, or you can use them much more as like a chat show. Mm-hmm. And I think obviously going back to the point about the television, the fact that people are watching more content on the telly, they're watching, podcasts like Call Her Daddy for 2 hours. And then that's great for creators to monetize because there's more content, more advertising slots to make more money as well. So that's certainly been a trend that's surprised me. And the other thing that I love about podcasts is just this sort of blending of genres. And you get these amazing fusions. So there's one which is Bailey Sorosay, do you know her? So
I've heard of her.
So it's basically true crime and makeup. Uh-huh. And so she will do a smoky eyes makeover whilst telling a horror story. And it's just fantastic.
Wow.
I mean, you wouldn't get that anywhere else, would you?
Absolutely.
And our audience love it because they learn something about how to do a makeover at the same time as, hearing an incredible, crime story.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I was laid off from CNBC during the pandemic, the budget cuts and this and that, and I started applying for real jobs, and intuitively I felt, why not just start my own channel? Yeah. And so I've done that, and I've been doing that forever, for over 5 years, and it's been rewarding. So for YouTube was really interesting for me because for CNBC, some of the videos that I did on, selfie mode on my iPhone, edited myself, had over 1 million views. And here I am starting with 0 subscribers. So I asked myself, what am I going to do when I post my first video and it gets 37 views? Yeah. It's going to be very demotivating. And so I made a plan, and I said, for the first year, I'm going to post 3 times per week on YouTube, no matter what, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I'm not going to check the views too much. I'm just gonna put my foot down and do the work, and then after a year I can assess and analyze. And so I did it. I never missed an upload, and of course the quality wasn't great, but I believe in order to get to good quality you have to repetition, you have to practice. And so after a year I had about 30K subs, obviously not enough to call it a full-time job, but I had one breakout that had over 1.5 million views on YouTube, and I started getting within that first year, about 8 months in, and then also brands slowly started to hit me up on email. And so I was like, okay, I'm onto something, even though 30K again is not much, but I knew that if I just did the work. And I find most people across social media, across content creation, aren't willing to put in the work. They have too much almost shiny object syndrome. They start something for a month and then they get enamored by a new object or a new idea. Are you seeing this? Are you seeing this with a lot of early on creators?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think going back to your point earlier is YouTube is more of a commitment. And so once people make that decision, they're committed. I think perhaps that might be on other platforms where it's shorter form content, and so you can sort of dip in and out of it a bit more. But on YouTube, we definitely, we see that commitment. And we also see that creators get that it's worth it. Whilst it might take a bit longer to build an audience, actually it pays back because we have monetization. We have our monetization is better than any other platform. And, we've got obviously the rev share. We've also got, increasingly brand deals. I'm sure you probably get a lot of your monetization with the brand deal side of things as well. And so, therefore, it's a much more feasible business.
Let's talk about shorts. I know, teenagers use shorts and they're enamored in shorts. How do you ensure that shorts doesn't cannibalize the long form?
Yeah. Well, shorts is quite often used as a teaser. So it's almost used as a teaser to longer form content. It's used in lots of different ways. But it's also a brilliant way of promoting shows, clipping stuff up. We definitely see it as part of the multi-format package as opposed to it being a one of its kind. And it works brilliantly. And obviously shorts, we were playing catch up with shorts, and now we've got a product that's doing incredibly well.
Tell me about more about your career. So you were at Google. What did you do? What did you start out in your career?
I started out in the civil service. Yes. So I had a year in the civil service. I actually worked for MI5. I wasn't a spy.
I know MI5 from all the movies. Yeah.
You're not allowed to say if you're a spy. So
that's true.
I would have been a really bad spy. And I actually started in the early days of the internet when it was dial-up. So do you remember when you had to sort of plug it in? It wasn't always on. And it was CD-ROMs, it was internet.
And you couldn't get a phone call, right?
You couldn't get a phone
time.
call.
Yeah.
And so my mum kept saying to me, what are you doing? I don't understand this job that you're doing. But I could see it would turn into something. Then I went to work for agencies. So I launched the first national lottery on the internet, the first commercial app on the Apple Store, which was a Corona app. It was someone drinking a beer. And so I was really involved in those early days of the dot-com boom. And then having worked in advertising agencies for 10 years, I decided that I wanted to go and work for a company that owned its own IP, owned its own future. And I decided a shortlist of two, John Lewis, which is a retailer in the UK, or Google. And I got a job at Google. And the rest is history, as they say.
And what did you do for Google at first?
So my first job was working with creative agencies. So it was more on the sales side of things.
Okay.
Then I went and ran a brand solutions team working on YouTube. And then I ran a retail team. So it was the lifestyle retail team. And what was amazing about and what I've loved about my career at Google is the fact that I've been given these different opportunities. And so I've had the opportunity to do lots of different roles, which have stretched me in different ways. But my North Star was the YouTube MD role. That was the one that I had on my personal development plan, that I wanted that job.
What is the biggest, best piece of advice you have for new hires, new grads that are coming into the job market right now?
Do what you love. Follow your passion. So Google and YouTube were not around when I was at school, and so when you're thinking about when I was at university, and so do things that you enjoy, because I think increasingly also careers are going to be much less linear. There's going to be a lot more fluidity and plural careers, and therefore it's really important that you love what you do, and also don't hold yourself back.
How about upskilling? Do you think, I think long gone will be the days of I studied for 4 years and then I applied this for 40 years. What about, upskilling? How do you kind of
and what
encourage
do you mean,
that?
As in just...
Well, just staying on top of new trends, new skills,
it's critical,
and things like
absolutely
that.
Critical. It really is. And I think it's really important. AI is really important. How can AI help your job and make you more productive, help you to, whether it's writing a speech or whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
Really, everyone needs to be fluent in AI.
Yeah. One thing I appreciated about YouTube, a year ago, everyone's faceless channels, AI channels, this and that. It's going to be, are you worried? Are you worried? And it's like, look, at the end of the day, people are drawn to people, right? And if you're a human, it doesn't matter how good, and I say this about films too, when people are like, AI movies, it's like, do you really care if a film was done by CGI or AI? You don't care.
No.
You care about the story. You care about maybe if there's actors in it, who are they?
Yeah.
Do you have that connection with them when you see them on the big screen or small screen?
No, it's so true. And I think increasingly that agility is going to be really much more important. People who can be good at problem solving, be much more adaptive, soft skills.
Yeah.
They're going to be really critical.
Communication skills,
Communication,
right? Yeah.
exactly.
Do you worry about sometimes the next generation not having that communication skills because they're not picking up the phone or answering the phone?
So I've got 2 daughters. One's 20 and one's 16. And my eldest daughter's at university and she loves phoning.
Wow.
She phones all the time and she'll chat
They're
for
bringing it
ages.
back. No way.
She'll chat for ages. And so I don't worry at all.
That's amazing. Yeah. Okay, cool. What's next for you? What are you looking, what's on the horizon for you and for YouTube?
So for me, what I'm really passionate about is the creator economy. And it's something that so in the UK last year, we did a consultation. So we asked all the creators, what do you want to grow to the next stage of your business? We thought we'd get 1,000 responses. We had over 10,000. And so there were 5 areas that creators wanted: creative industries recognition, government recognition, access to skills and training, access to finance and filming infrastructure. And so what we are doing now is that we're building out that strategy and helping creators, whether it is getting them tax codes recognised by the government, so they can access business loans. We're doing a partnership with National Film and Television School, so helping creators to upskill. So there's loads that we are doing, and for me, it's all about how can we help businesses like you get to that next level.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. So we're sitting here at an event called Greater Together.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are Greater Together. Yes. So basically, UK brought its largest delegation in history to the United States, CEOs, artists, and more to promote trade and economic activity. How has that been? What is it like to be a partner with the event? And what's kind of the mission been?
Yeah, it's been excellent. And I think it's all about how do we build stronger partnerships. And what's been fascinating is just the breadth of conversations that have been happening across so many different industries, whether that's, music or astrophysicists or AI. And so it's been a really important mission, in our relationship, UK and US is very critical. And I think also the creative industries, in the UK, we're really proud about the creative industries and our soft power.
Yeah, true.
And we recognise the incredible film industry and that you have here. And so it's felt like it's been a real sweet spot, and it's been brilliant to have creators here who can really sort of lift the bonnet and hear the stories of many of the delegates here who are utterly inspiring.
Yeah, absolutely. Does the UK punch above its weight in terms of the YouTubers coming out of the UK?
100%.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm proud as punch.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we really do. Yeah, we really do. We also do look to the US though, because the US as a creator economy is a bit further ahead. And so we're always looking at the trends and, what can we learn from those next generation production companies that are built in the US? How can we codify that and bring it back to the UK too?
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Thank you for having me.
Enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of What's Uptin, where I bring you inside the minds driving tech, money, and power. Follow along on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow my personal account on Instagram @Uptin. Would love to connect with you.